The word no is a powerful word. It builds barriers, imposes limitations, and creates boundaries. But many of us still find it difficult to say. That's because saying no has repercussions. How can we decline an overtime request without risking a promotion? Or reject our partners without offending them? We frequently give in and say yes instead of saying no, which might cause resentment or other issues in the future. Or we say no in a way that sounds like an assault. Or we simply try to steer out of the circumstance. Every strategy merely makes things worse. The ability to say no is more crucial than ever in the modern world due to the steadily deteriorating boundaries between work and home. This video demonstrates how to say no in a way that clearly delineates your boundaries, safeguards your time, upholds your principles, and protects the people you value, all without endangering your interpersonal connections. This video will teach you how to have a respectful and constructive conversation, how to protect the things that are most important to you and say yes to yourself, how to produce the results you desire. You have to figure out why you're saying no in the first place in order to find your underlying yes. Isn't it challenging to say no? Of course, but if you're addicted to booze or drugs, it's very difficult. Even though you know you should decline, it can take a long time to get up the courage. One alcoholic eventually succeeded in quitting after many years of addiction when he became a grandfather and wanted to make a difference in the lives of his grandchild. This makes a powerful revelation: a positive no is motivated by a deeper yes rather than by being opposed to something. The key message here is, to uncover your underlying yes, you must discover the reason you're saying no in the first place. Most people tend to say no reactively, either as an accommodation, an attack, or out of avoidance. These types of no stem from fear, guilt, or anger. But for your no to be positive, it must come from somewhere more proactive, forward-looking, and purposeful. So next time you're about to say no, stop and ask yourself what you really want, what's most important to you, and why. While no is a clear statement of what you don't want, it is ultimately motivated by the things you do want. Say your friend is over and asks to light up a cigarette in your living room. It's likely you don't want someone to smoke in your home, because you don't like the smell and you also care about air quality. The same holds true for all situations you want to say no to. Therefore, the next time you have to say it, consider what you are attempting to establish, safeguard, or change. Consider your needs, wants, and values to determine what is most important to you. After doing this, you reach your yes, which is the objective underlying your interests. Keep in mind that a strong aim should be constructive and for something rather than against something. You must decide what genuinely important to you, just like the alcoholic who discovered his true aim was to live and be healthy for his grandchild. Finding your yes provides you the strength to stand by your no. The next stage is to empower your no now that you have this feeling of purpose in place. You need a plan B if you want to empower your no. Create a plan B to support your intention if you're sure on your deeper yes. People don't like to hear no, so you'll need something to support you if you run across opposition. Think about Rosa Parks' situation. Her resistance to give up her seat was supported by both her activist background and her intention, the desire for equality and dignity. Parks had a backup plan. She was aware that she would probably be arrested and that the world wouldn't accept her, but she also understood that she had a strong movement supporting her. The main takeaway is that you need a backup plan if you want to empower your no. The benefit of having a backup plan is that it gives you the freedom to refuse requests with the knowledge that you will have something to counter any opposition. It also enables you to communicate your demands without coming out as weak. After all, regardless of what the other person says, you already have a strategy for what to do. Unfortunately, using Plan B isn't always pleasant. If it were, wouldn't it be your Plan A? Plan B, for instance, might be to request a transfer or report an abusive supervisor to HR. And Plan B might have to be ending the relationship if you're trying to say no to an uncooperative spouse. Even if it's not your first choice in either of these scenarios, your plan B safeguards you from the deeds and conduct that endanger your well-being. So how do you formulate a backup plan? Start by generating ideas. Turn off the critical voice in your thoughts and think about all the absurd possibilities. Then, by considering how they might actually operate, transform these absurd concepts into workable programs. Consider ways to accomplish your objectives alone when coming up with ideas. Additionally, think about how it would feel to leave the relationship or, alternatively, if a neutral third person, such as a marriage counselor, could facilitate negotiations. Keep in mind that your backup plan isn't a concession or a loss in the end. Simply put, it's a different approach you could use in the event that the other person rejects your no. And even if you might prefer not to use it, having a backup plan will let you say no with confidence. You might not even need to reach for it if you approach it with that level of confidence. Start by being respectful if you want a yes to your no. Your next move is to assist the other person in accepting your no now that you've identified your underlying yes and developed a backup strategy. The issue is that most individuals take rejection personally and frequently feel wounded or embarrassed when they hear no. Consider the function of hostage negotiators in this situation. How do they refuse the hostage taker's demands when it is obvious that they cannot comply while still ensuring the hostage's safety? Dominic Messino, a hostage negotiator for the NYPD, says that the first step is to treat the prisoner with dignity. The takeaway is this: start by being respectful in order to earn a yes to your no. Right, respect is simple. Just as you would like to be treated, so should others. However, what if you don't really appreciate that individual? Fortunately, showing respect starts with simple deeds like listening and recognizing the other person's humanity. It can be difficult to respect someone you don't particularly like, but there is a difference between respecting someone and actually enjoying their company. In actuality, our hate is typically what makes us ignorant to another person's humanity and, consequently, to the current circumstance. This is crucial because it helps you better grasp what you're saying no to when you put your rage aside and listen respectfully. And as you listen, make an effort to comprehend rather than to disagree. Try to look into his underlying reasons the same way you did with your own. And once he finishes speaking, make some clarification requests. Check to see if there was a miscommunication and attempt to give him the benefit of the doubt. Because you'll be more successful in convincing him to accept your no if you have a deeper understanding of his perspective. After hearing him out, acknowledge your understanding of his viewpoint to demonstrate respect. By doing this, you can prevent him from taking your rejection as personal. You'll find it simpler to empathize with the other person if you go back to a time when you were in their shoes. Or you may just express your respect by confirming the connection and telling him how much you value him. The author writes that respect is an expression of oneself and one's ideals, therefore keep in mind that respect comes from a position of strength and that the more you respect yourself, the more you can respect others. It's time to present your positive no now that you found your yes, strengthened your no, and respected the other person's side. You must state your yes politely and clearly in order for your no to be effective. Which of these would be a nicer response to an invitation? "Uh-oh, sorry, but, no," or "I truly wish I could come, but I'm already engaged that day," are acceptable responses. Undoubtedly, there is a more appropriate approach to politely decline an invitation. Unbelievably, your positive no must start with a yes. This yes is an affirmation of values, whether it be the worth of the thing you're selling or, in a more private setting, the value of the person you are. Additionally, it clarifies to the other person why you are saying no and confirms your fundamental objective. It's critical to state your objective up front because doing so reduces the anxiety associated with disappointing someone. And making it clear why you're saying no makes it evident that you're not rejecting the individual, rather, you're just advocating for yourself. The essential takeaway is that you must say your yes politely and clearly in order for your no to be effective. Be mindful that when you say no, you are rejecting the problem rather than the person. So pay attention to your language use, avoiding blatantly judgmental comments, and the more subtly expressed emotions you convey through tone and body language. She will get defensive and more likely to push back against your no if you do this. Use what the author refers to as. Instead of use statements, use the statements. Try saying the work was incorrect, the product was late, or the information was incorrect instead of telling someone they messed up, they were late, or they were wrong. By doing this, you're absolving them of responsibility and placing the emphasis on the circumstances rather than the person's characteristics. I statements work well because they speak directly to your needs, wants, and feelings. They are therefore difficult to challenge, for this reason. When combined with the remarks, they can sound like this: I feel guilty when the work is late because I want to do my job. But be cautious. The use of the pronouns I or feel at the beginning of a sentence does not give you the right to label others as liars and idiots. You should still refrain from making these judgments in particular. Finally, it's not always necessary to provide justifications. Let's take the example of being sober and declining an alcoholic beverage. Because your reasons for refraining are private, a simple "no thanks" is sufficient. You create a new reality and a distinct boundary by saying no. When two people stand before an altar and pronounce "I do," they are not just expressing a feeling but also taking an action. By saying those words, they become a legally married pair, which changes the reality of their status. In the same way, your positive no makes sense because you're not just expressing your emotions or desires. Instead, you're boldly establishing a boundary and outlining your plan of action. The main takeaway from this is that saying no firmly establishes a boundary and creates a new reality. Because it's frequently their first taste of independence, children are all too familiar with the power of saying no. Children are learning to set their own boundaries when they have temper tantrums, refusing to eat their veggies or wear that scratchy garment. They also confirm their existence in the process. That is why the word no has such strength. Who you are is determined by what you say no to. But how do you state your no without coming out as confrontational when no is an indication of power? Being natural is essential. Allow your no to naturally follow your yes. Consider once more how quickly children can respond, "No, I'm playing." They are confident in their yes, therefore they aren't concerned about upsetting anyone. Naturally, as an adult, you are more attuned to the feelings and intentions of others. However, now that you've put in the effort to clarify your goal, your natural refusal will come from the confidence you've already built up. There's no need to yell since your no has force behind it. Adding "thanks" can help cushion the blow by connecting with the other person, even though your no is not an attack. Another tactic is to base your refusal on a personal rule, like "I never give money to friends." Your no is an indication of personal resolve when stated in this manner. And there is no stronger word than no to describe improper behavior. In fact, Impact Bay Area, a women's self-defense organization, advises shouting "no" rather than "help" since it is more successful at drawing attention. Positive no is a shield of protection whereas negative no functions as a sword of rejection. Always keep in mind that you are only attempting to protect your interests and not do anything to the other person. In the next section, we'll discuss how to make a good proposal after saying no. The other person is more likely to accept your no if you offer a workable alternative that accommodates everyone's needs. Although your positive no should be unequivocal, the tale shouldn't end there. Not only are you attempting to express your requirements, but you're also attempting to get the other person to concur. Furthermore, you frequently say no to a loved one or a work colleague, and you can't take the chance of damaging the relationship. The essential takeaway is that the other person is more likely to accept your refusal if you offer a workable solution that accommodates everyone's needs. You are actually making your no stronger by closing one door and opening another, as if to say, "This road is definitely closed, but there's another option that would be better for both of us." By presenting an alternative route, you demonstrate to the other person that you value his requirements and are prepared to go the extra mile to meet them. Offering an alternate solution gives the other person the chance to say no, which is another benefit. If saying no is a sign of authority, enabling him to say it will help you both regain parity. A successful solution often takes one of three shapes. Your response may be a good substitute if you're denying a demand. If you disagree with someone's actions, make recommendations for how they might behave differently. Additionally, if your positive no is a single sentence, such as, "No thanks, I don't drink," your brevity is an appeal for respect between the parties. You can also finish by saying, "I hope you understand." Last but not least, confirm that what you're asking for is appropriate. Is it appropriate to ask someone to control their anger, for instance? A better strategy would be to inquire as to the source of their rage. Also, remember to show respect. Because even if they completely agree with your idea, they could still reject it if they don't like the way you are acting. Keep in mind that neither of you needs to be disappointed with the outcome. There must be a solution that benefits both parties. So change your attention from what can't be done to what can. If you're stuck for an answer, perhaps you can talk it over as a group. It's time to hear the reaction now that you've said all of your yes and no's. Finally, you'll gain knowledge on how to influence the other person to accept you. You must assist in transforming resistance into acceptance if you want your no to stick. Richard Goodwin, the speechwriter for President Lyndon B. Johnson, attempted to retire, but LBJ rebuffed him with a master tactician's arsenal of flattery, bribery, and intimidation. Fortunately, most of the individuals you'll be rejecting won't be as cunning as LBJ. On the other hand, perhaps Goodwin wouldn't have had to torn up his resignation letter if he possessed the power of a positive no. However, opposition should be anticipated when dealing with people who are less obstinate than LBJ, because your refusal may destroy their dreams or jeopardize their interests. The same goes for pouting, pleading, anger, or even a sudden loss of hearing. You should now follow through on your positive rejection. The main takeaway from this is that in order for your no to stick, you must work to convert opposition into acceptance. The person can require some time to adjust to your rejection, just like with any disappointment. You should thus travel to that serene location where you discovered your initial aim and maintain your composure as she goes through the stages of grieving. Your composure will calm both of you down. The Chinese commander Sun Tzu advised you to create a golden bridge for your opponent to flee across, therefore you might want to think about what he meant by that. Is the person struggling to accept your rejection because she might lose face? Consider what you can do to assist her keep her reputation and construct a golden path to a compromise you can both accept. You will most likely have to coexist because of this. Getting someone to accept your no is only a temporary victory, whether you're dealing with a spouse or an ex, a customer or a coworker. Additionally, a well-executed positive no attempts to strengthen your relationship, which can help prevent long-term conflict. This is due to the fact that a positive no embraces both your uniqueness and the interests of your community. Yes, threading this needle is challenging, but with practice, you'll get the hang of it. Start by taking note of when and how you say no. Do you attack, counterattack, or flee? Who is it that you find it hardest to refuse? Ask a friend to practice what you want to say with you if you're worried about saying no. Finally, keep in mind that saying positive no is a gift that will enable you to stay loyal to yourself and, by doing so, to others. It takes strength, courage, and empathy to say yes, but with practice, it can lead to more confidence and more genuine connections. You wouldn't believe it, but saying no can actually be the start of something. When you say positive no, you strongly defend yourself, express your true goal, and leave room for potential future opportunities. Such clarity in communication not only improves your self-worth but also forges deeper connections. Practical suggestions. Give a positive no once every day. Keep in mind that a positive no is a yes in the most basic sense. Seek out a chance to use a positive no while you go about your day. Ask yourself whether the planning and execution make it simpler to give that firm and steady no by paying close attention to the two yes at the beginning and end. Please write down a comment if this video was helpful for your daily life. Thank you for watching.